CNBC TV 18 and India Bonds presents Bond Street.
Welcome to Bond Street, and joining us on this episode is Mr. K. Rajaraman. He's chairman at IFSCA. Mr. Rajaraman, hi, thank you so much for joining in. And we've seen bonds set to be mainstream. We've seen strong indications in 2024 and that getting solidifying even in 2025. So when it comes to IFSCA at Gift City, how would you say you're positioning yourself differently from India's domestic bond market, and what does that really mean for the retail bond investors?
Good afternoon to you, and thank you for having me on your program. Let me first of all say that Gift City has the bond ecosystem here is almost like 5 years old since the exchanges have started listing bonds on their exchange. These are largely Indian corporates. I think a large number of Indian corporates, some of the largest ones, as well as mid-sized companies who have listed their bonds in the Indian in the international stock exchanges in Gift City. The NSE IX and the India INX are the two exchanges in Gift City which list these bonds. So if you look at the nature of the market, I think it is a largely institutional market, because the issuers are large corporates and the subscribers, the investors are also large institutional investors from across the world, and typically intermediated by large international banks. So if you look at the nature of the products that are available at the exchanges, they are only the Indian corporate bonds, which means that these are outside the scope of investments of resident investors. I think resident investors cannot invest in a product which originated in India. So the subscribers by definition have to be either institutions in Gift City or foreign investors, or investors such as NRIs or of those kinds. So if you look at the market which I just described, I think in 2024-25, nearly about 57 issuances happened with a total value of nearly $7 billion. The total outstanding bond issuances that have happened here as of date is about $68 billion, out of which about $16 billion are green, social, and sustainable bonds. So this is the nature of the market at this point of time.
I'm just sticking to the retail market here. And in the overall landscape, when it comes to bond and the debt market, how important would you see that playing a role in a longer term? And also when it comes to IFSC, yet again, what additional safeguards, disclosures in place are going to help them understand credit currency and the default risk for that matter?
So, as a regulator, the International Financial Services Centers Authority places great importance in investor protection. And the most important element of investor protection is to ensure that investor gets adequate information for him or her to make informed decisions. So, what we have done is that from April of this year, we have mandated that all the bond issuers should mandatorily rate their bond issuances through registered credit rating agencies in Gift City. And so some of them are also eligible to avail of international credit rating agencies as an additional rating mechanism from rating agencies who are not located in IFSCA, but they're located anywhere in international jurisdictions. So we also have mandated that the issuers should also disclose enough information on the use of proceeds, because obviously that gives greater visibility for the investors on how the money is getting used by the issuers. And also, let me also say that the issuers are also mandated to disclose material information to the stock exchanges from time to time. I think things which are of importance for the investors to know, such as redemption and cancellation of debt securities, details of interest payments, any buyback or put option, etc. Similarly, I think the exchanges are also mandated to disclose any instance of default, so that the investors are immediately aware of these events to enable them to make decisions.
Mr. Rajaraman, while we keep speaking to a lot of domestic issuers and, of course, exchanges, and they have been asking for tax-friendly taxes, that is, and some tax cuts here, is that what you're looking at IFSC as well, tax or regulatory advantages that the Indian retail investor perhaps can look at?
So let me say that the Indian retail investor would be subject to the tax law which obtained in domestic markets. So okay. He would be subject to taxation based on the kind of product he's investing. But if you were to look at a foreign investor who is investing into the bond market in Gift City, then obviously one of the features of the tax policy that has been put in place by the government of India is a lower rate of withholding tax. I think at 9%, as against 10 or 15 or 20%, which are available on various treaties, depending upon which jurisdiction you are investing from. So this concessional rate of 9% of withholding tax on bonds, on the interest that is payable on the bond issuances, is something which is a very attractive feature for foreign investors and non-resident Indians to use when they invest into the bond opportunities in GIFT City.
I'll wind up this conversation, Mr. Rajaraman, with one final thing. You've already told us on what the future perhaps could look like, and I understand that the bond market development, we have a Niti Aayog report. There's a lot being worked upon in sense of bond markets. In next, let's say, 3 to 5 to 7 years, perhaps, how would you look at IFSC transforming the bond investment experience overall?
So, I would say that a good bond market where I would recommend that a retail investor should invest is where there is liquidity, I think, and there is transparency in the pricing. So, from that perspective, the size of the bonds which are issued also matters, because generally corporates issue large ticket bonds, I think, which are probably more relevant to institutional investors. So mechanisms such as fractionalization of bonds through either mechanisms like ETFs or using tokenization technology is also something which we are working on. And I expect that these mechanisms will evolve over the next several years. So till such time, I think it would largely remain an institutional-led market.
All right. Mr. Rajaraman, thank you so much for taking time out for us today. Really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
CNBC TV 18 and India Bonds presents Bond Street.
Investments in debt securities, municipal debt securities, securitized debt instruments are subject to risks including delay and/or default in payment. Read all the offer-related documents carefully.